What kind of car does a millionaire drive? If you said BMW, Mercedes, Porsche, or Tesla, then you're wrong. Dead wrong. The most popular car among American millionaires was a Ford. The second most popular, a Cadillac. The average millionaire in Stanley's research had never spent more than $30,000 on a car in their life. Chapter 4 of the Millionaire Next Door is about cars, but it's really about something much bigger. The single most expensive lie our culture tells us about success is what you drive tells the world who you are. Stanley says the opposite is true. What you drive tells the world what you're not. Let's get into it. Stanley and Danko collected data on the car buying habits of millionaires, and the results demolish every assumption the auto industry depends on. Here are the key findings. First, most millionaires have never leased a car. Leasing is the preferred method for people who want to look wealthy, but real millionaires see leasing as paying a premium for a depreciating asset you'll never own. Over 80% of millionaires in the study purchased their vehicles outright. Many paid cash. Second, most millionaires buy, used, or keep their cars for years. The average millionaire in their research drove a car that was at least 2 to 3 years old. Many drove cars that were 5, 7, even 10 years old. They didn't see the point in paying the massive depreciation premium that hits a new car the moment it leaves the lot. Third, most millionaires spend less than 1% of their net worth on a car. Think about that math. A millionaire worth $3 million would spend no more than $30,000 on a vehicle. Meanwhile, someone earning $60,000 a year with a net worth of $50,000 buys a $45,000 truck, spending 90% of their net worth on a car. One person is building wealth, the other is destroying it. Fourth, car dealers know exactly who the real millionaires are. Stanley interviewed luxury car dealers who confirmed that most of their customers are not wealthy. They're high-income earners financing a lifestyle. The truly wealthy customers, when they did show up, often arrived in older, modest cars and paid cash. Stanley introduces a devastating concept in this chapter that is, the car as a wealth destroyer. He calculates the lifetime cost of buying new luxury cars every 3 years versus buying reliable used cars and investing the difference. The numbers are staggering. Over a 30-year period, the person who buys a new $50,000 car every 3 years and finances it will spend over $500,000 on cars alone. The person who buys a reliable $15,000 used car every 5 years and invests, the difference will spend about $90,000 on cars and have over $700,000 in investments from the savings. That's a gap of over $1.2 million from one single spending category, cars. Stanley's conclusion is blunt. If you want to predict whether someone will become wealthy, don't ask what they earn. Ask what they drive and how they bought it. Let's look at our first story. This story has become legendary in personal finance circles. Stanley was conducting interviews with millionaires at a country club. Before one session, the club manager pulled him aside and said, "The man you're about to meet is worth over $10 million. Stanley expected a luxury car in the parking lot. Instead, the millionaire arrived in a 10-year-old Ford Explorer. No special trim, just a basic, well-maintained SUV. During the interview, Stanley asked him about his car choice. The millionaire looked genuinely confused by the question. He said something like, "It runs fine. It gets me where I need to go. Why would I buy a new one?" Then he made a comment that captures the entire philosophy of this book. Every dollar I put into a car is a dollar that stops working for me. Every dollar I put into my business or investments is a dollar that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now compare this to the most common car buying behavior Stanley observed among high-income non-millionaires. He profiled attorneys, doctors, and corporate managers earning $200,000 to $500,000 a year who leased new luxury vehicles every 2 to 3 years. They spent more on cars annually than the $10 million millionaire had spent on cars in the last decade. One attorney in the study was leasing a $90,000 BMW. His net worth? Under $300,000. He was spending 30% of his net worth on a car every 3 years. The depreciation alone on that lease was consuming more than he saved annually. Stanley made a profound observation that this attorney wasn't buying car for transportation. He was buying an identity. The car told his clients, his colleagues, and his neighbors that he was successful. Take away the car, and he felt diminished. The $10 million man in the Ford didn't need a car to tell anyone who he was. His bank account did that silently. This message has become even more relevant with the explosion of auto debt in recent years. In 2024, the average new car price in the United States hit over $48,000. The average monthly car payment for a new vehicle crossed $730, the highest in history, and the average loan term stretched to nearly 5 years. The 5 years of payments on a rapidly depreciating asset. But here's the number that should terrify you. According to Experian data from 2024, Americans collectively owed over $1.6 trillion in auto loans, more than total credit card debt. Auto loans are now the second largest consumer debt category in America after mortgages, and the trend is accelerating. Between 2019 and 2024, the percentage of Americans with car payments exceeding $1,000 per month tripled. A LendingTree study found that nearly 17% of new car borrowers in 2024 had monthly payments over $1,000. Who's driving this trend? Not millionaires. Millionaires were most likely to buy used vehicles or negotiate significant discounts on new ones. Meanwhile, look at what happened in China. When the economy slowed in 2023 and 2024, a new trend emerged among young Chinese professionals called reverse consumption. Deliberately buying cheaper products and downgrading their lifestyles as a form of rebellion against status-driven spending. Used car sales surged. Luxury car sales softened. Young people started openly bragging about how little they spent on their vehicles. Stanley would have recognized this instantly. A culture was discovering what his millionaires already knew, that the car you drive is the most expensive lie you can tell about yourself. This chapter touches on something much deeper than cars. It's about the psychology of status signaling. Evolutionary psychologists would say that humans are hardwired to signal status. In prehistoric tribes, the strongest hunter wore the biggest animal skin. It communicated dominance and attracted mates. We haven't changed. We just swapped animal skins for Audis. But here's what Stanley discovered that challenges this evolutionary model. The most successful accumulators of wealth have somehow overridden this instinct. They've disconnected their self-worth from visible displays of success. This is genuinely rare. Most people, even very intelligent and very successful people, just can't do it. The social pressure to display success is overwhelming. When you pull into the company parking lot in a 10-year-old Honda while your colleagues drive new BMWs, something primal in your brain screams that you're losing. Millionaires have learned to silence that voice. And the way they did it, according to Stanley, is by replacing one status metric with another. Instead of measuring themselves by what others can see, like their car, their house, their clothes, they measure themselves by what only they can see, like their net worth, their investment returns, their financial independence. It's not that millionaires don't care about status. They absolutely do. They've just chosen a private scoreboard instead of a public one, and that private scoreboard is the only one that actually matters. There's also a mathematical insight buried here that most people miss. A car is the worst possible status symbol because it depreciates every single day. A $50,000 car is worth $40,000 a year later, $30,000 2 years later. You're literally watching your status signal lose value in real time. An investment portfolio, by contrast, appreciates. If you put that $50,000 into an index fund, it's worth $55,000 a year later, $60,000 2 years later. Your private scoreboard keeps going up, while the public scoreboard keeps going down. Millionaires chose the scoreboard that compounds. Everyone else chose the one that depreciates. I'll be honest with you, this was the hardest chapter for me personally. Cars are emotional. They're tied to identity, to memories, to how we see ourselves. Telling someone to drive a cheaper car feels like telling them to shrink themselves. Stanley isn't asking you to drive a terrible car. He's asking you to do the math. What is your car actually costing you? Not just the payment, but the opportunity cost of what that money could become if invested over 20 or 30 years. Once you do that math, the emotional attachment starts to crack. Because the real question isn't, what car do I want to drive? It's, would I rather drive a nice car for 5 years or be financially free for the rest of my life? When you frame it that way, the answer becomes obvious. The car is never worth it. Freedom always is. There are 3 takeaways from this chapter. First, Apply the 1% rule to your next car purchase. Your car should cost no more than 1% of your net worth. If your net worth is $100,000, your car budget is $1,000. If it's $500,000, you can spend $5,000. This sounds extreme, but it's exactly what millionaires do. If the math embarrasses you, that's your signal to build more wealth, not spend more on a car. Second, calculate the true lifetime cost before buying. Don't just look at the sticker price or the monthly payment. Add insurance, fuel, maintenance, depreciation, and the opportunity cost of investing that money instead. A $40,000 car really costs you $120,000 or more over its lifetime when you include lost investment returns. Know the real number before you sign anything. Third, buy used, buy reliable, pay cash. The sweet spot that Millionaires found is a 2 to 4 year old reliable vehicle like Toyota, Honda, Ford, purchased with cash. You let someone else absorb the steepest depreciation, you avoid interest payments, and you drive a perfectly good car for a fraction of the new price. It's not glamorous, it's wealthy. Chapter 4 strips away the most visible symbol of fake wealth, the car. What you drive doesn't signal success, it often signals the opposite. In the next video, we'll cover Chapter 5, where Stanley and Danko tackle a topic that hits even closer to home. How giving money to your adult children might be the single most destructive thing you can do to their financial future. If this video changed how you think about your next car, hit subscribe and drop a comment. I want to know what you drive and whether you'd change it after hearing this. See you in the next one.